What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of Garbearfitness. It is about 5:30 a.m. this morning, and I just got home from the gym, and I'm currently meal prepping some rice right now and getting ready to finish up my last meal. It is late, I'm exhausted, but my meals are important, and I do have to get this meal in. So in the meantime, I did want to do a discussion vlog today, and if you guys saw my recent post on my Facebook or my Instagram, it's Watson Alexander for any of you guys who don't know. Uh, I had done a post about my 6.5 year transformation from when I began working out around 16 and a half years old now till about 23 years old. Um, and just kind of like a simple background story of just, like what I guess like the simplest layout of kind of how I got there from where I started to where I am today. And I wanted to do a video kind of going in a little more into detail and depth of my transformation. So, as I did mention in my post, I was about 5'6", 126 pounds in between my 10th and 11th grade year, going into a junior year of high school. And I was very skinny growing up. I wasn't even 100 pounds to like ninth grade of high school. And I mean, I always wore baggy clothing, and that's just something at the time was very comfortable for me, but it also was comfortable because I was able to hide my body. People always would call me, skinny or, twiggy or stuff like that. And I mean, it was funny, but I mean, deep down, stuff like that, will bother you. Whether you're a person who's always been underweight or overweight, stuff like that deep down does get down to you in your conscious, and you just start just overthinking stuff all the time. So it's crazy because the first thing that really motivated me to work out, in my post, I did mention about how my mom she took my brother and I. In the post, I mentioned just me, but she took my brother and I because we're identical twins, if any of you guys didn't know that either. Excuse me. She took us to the YMCA one day to just, get kind of coached on how to use the gym because at that point, we were getting to a point where, maybe we want to put on some weight. Might as well try a gym, see what happens. And at the time, I was a little interested in going, but I was more so less just more entertained with stuff like guitar and video games and just sitting home and watching cartoons and eating all day. So I decided to go after, she kept complaining and dragged me to the gym. And there was a coach named Pete. I've known him in that gym for years, and he's probably one of the best guys that had work in there. And there was a guy named Mike, too, Air Force guy. I believe he was in the Air Force. But these are two first guys that worked in the gym that kind of coached my brother and I on how to use stuff and, working out and all that. But my brother really wasn't interested in the gym, but just something about it just kind of clicked for me, and I was just like, wow, like this is awesome. So I spent, every single day for the next X amount of years at the YMCA, I think it was over 4 years, but anyway, but I did live, how far did I live? I lived about maybe 30 to 45 minutes away from the gym. And I didn't have a car at the time, so I would take 2 buses to 3 buses, depending on the routes and bus schedule and stuff like that, to the gym every day. And I didn't care about the time. I didn't care how long it took me to get to the gym. That's all that mattered. I didn't care how hot it was. I didn't care how cold it was. I didn't care if there was a blizzard. I don't care if the bus was running an hour late due to weather or anything like that. Boycotting, because that's one thing SEPTA back in Philadelphia was known for, was they always wanted to like boycott when they weren't paid enough. So somehow I always managed to find a way to go to the gym. And one of my other videos, I talk about being a mentally healthy athlete, about passing up so much in life for fitness lifestyle, because I did have a very unhealthy addiction to fitness at that time, because I wanted to change my body so fast, and one of the major motivations that came out for me was when Taylor Lautner was in the movie New Moon, and like in the first movie he was just a skinny little kid. In the next movie, he bumped up like 30, 40, 50 pounds. So I'm just like, fuck, like I want to do this, like right now, like this summer, 3 months, like I want to look like that. Somewhere in between there. So I spent every day of my entire summer. I think I went from maybe 126 to somewhere. I probably put on at least maybe 5 pounds. So I was about 130 pounds by the time junior year came. There's a couple people who noticed, like, oh, Garrett, you look a little bigger and stuff. So like that's like always an enthusiasm for anybody who works out. So every day after school, come the next year, full of June and the entirety of junior year, I spent working out every day, skipped hanging out with friends and everything like that. So I did have a very unhealthy obsession with exercising and stuff like that. Sometimes I would go to the gym twice a day just to see if I could gain more quicker. And another thing too, I had a very unhealthy mindset about things as well. Just because I believe that for like the first 3.5 years I worked out, that every morning when I woke up, I always ran to the bathroom to look at myself because I always thought that I was going to lose what I had worked for and I would have to restart again. I don't know why I had that mindset, but it drove me insane and it made me want to do so much more. So I have to say that despite me having a very unhealthy mindset, it helped me to become a mentally healthy athlete today because I learned what was not good for me. So I'm going to show you guys a photo here. This is actually kind of like the first photo I've ever taken. I was like 16 at the time, and I was still learning how to take a proper selfie. I don't even know if iPhone 1 was even out then. If it was not very popular, so I had an Android slide phone here. Um, but as you can see, I had a little bit of ab development and stuff like that coming in, a little bit of tricep development coming in, and that's one thing I was mainly focused for in my first year was just developing a super shredded abs because at the time, like that was all people were caring about was just abs. And eventually down the road, every year progressed to like biceps, legs, and all that stuff. But that was like mainly the first, year to about 2, 3 years of focus were my abs. I was always very lean. I did swim every day, and that's before I became a lifeguard. I lifeguarded for 4 years. I spent about 5 years swimming. Um, but I always stayed lean. I always had a very fast metabolism. But one thing I did do too was I always thought I was eating a certain amount of food, but I apparently was always under eating. And I actually began tracking my food in my first year of college because senior year of high school, going into college, I was about 135 pounds. And I thought I was eating a certain amount of food, but it came to be that I wasn't, and I could never put on weight. Um, so in the next photo here, you will see me about 135 pounds or so. You'll see that I am a little bit fuller. My muscles are a little more mature than they were at 126 pounds. Not a super big difference, but you can definitely tell my muscles have started developing a lot more. Um, and I think my first semester of college, I hit about 140 pounds or so. Um, and a lot of times I would spend my entire lunch break and stuff like that. Like I told you, I had a very unhealthy obsession at that young age of just gym. I loved it at the time though. That's what made me happy and kind of developed me into who I am today. So where was I at? I was 140 pounds, and at the same time, I had a lot of trouble putting on weight. But there was one guy in the gym. His name was Adrian. He's actually studying to become a doctor, I think now, or a psychologist. I think it was a doctor, one of them. But at the time, he was just this real built Asian guy I met in the gym, and it's crazy because I was having a conversation one day with him, and he was watching how I train, and I was just talking to him about different things of what I wanted to do, and he mentioned to me that I might be scared of lifting heavier weights, and it was crazy because of the first 3.5 years I worked out. I never squatted, never deadlift, never bench, and I always used machines and light dumbbells, and I just repped out. That's one thing I think that helped develop the the it helped keep me lean and it helped sculpt my body, have my metabolism just rubbing out the roof all the time, other than just genetically and kind of have the shape I do today. But it did turn out that I was afraid to lift heavy weights because it was something entirely out of my comfort zone. And I was scared to get hurt. And that's one thing that when you're in the gym, you have to learn that you can't be afraid to get hurt because you always have to leave your comfort zone to grow. So I slowly started working in heavier workout loads and weights and stuff like that. And I think by the end of my first year of college, I was about 145 pounds, 150. So that brings me to what year? 2012, 2013. So about three and a half years in. Yeah, I was about 145, 150 pounds or so. This photo here, I'm going to show you guys. You will see that, I've also put on a little more weight since the last photo I just showed you. Here's a front shot, and then I also have a side shot here. My delts are coming in, my chest is filling out. My abs, like I said, have always been lean, just because that was such a focus at the time. I was swimming, I was lifeguarding, so I did have a very streamlined, flat stomach all the time, no matter what I ate. I mean, even at that time, I was eating for lunch 6 McChickens, a large fry, and a large milkshake, and it would run into dinner. I know for most people that is a hell of a lot of food, and maybe I'll do a challenge video of that again sometime. Um, but that's what I ate. My metabolism was out the roof. It was, I mean, I could eat a horse. In all honesty, I probably could have sat there and ate a whole horse, and I'd be hungry again within the next like hour or two. But my eating habits weren't always very healthy. I wasn't eating heavy enough throughout the day to match my metabolism and then outdo it to gain a lot of weight. Um, so I continued, doing what I was doing. I eventually incorporated squatting and, a little bit of bench pressing. I started lifting heavier weights, and I think I bumped up to about 155, 160 pounds or so by the time I was 21. And another photo, because I was still lifeguarding at the time, you'll see here is that my body started filling out a whole hell of a lot more. And this is just what I love. That I always, at that time, I was very, very a narcissistic young man. I would always take selfies. I'd always find myself just staring at myself in the mirror all the time because I was just like, wow, like, like I love this shit. Like I spent so much time and like I look phenomenal. But I was always self-conscious. I was never satisfied with what I had, and that's one thing you do. You have the mindset of in bodybuilding is you're never satisfied with anything at all. You could have the hit a goal weight, and then there you go again. You want to bump another 10 pounds or so up. But I loved the way I looked, and I was always trying to figure out if I could put on more weight, or this is what I wanted to stay. But at that time period, I think I was on my 4th year lifting. So I was more or less gaining about 5 to 10 pounds a year, and that's idealistically what I'm glad I did. I trained particularly to not put on a lot of fat, and genetically I don't, so that's something I was very happy for. I don't have any water. I'm dehydrated as hell. God damn. Um, mm. So yeah, started putting on weight, and at that time period, I actually started slowing my swimming down because I realized swimming was the reason I couldn't put any weight on either. Swimming had bumped my metabolism like sky goddamn high, and I had to slow it down because I mean, no matter how much I was eating at that point, I couldn't put on any weight. I think it was up to like 3,500 to 4,000 calories at that point of the day. And like I said, they weren't very, very clean food, nutrient intake, but that's what I was eating, and I wasn't gaining a damn thing. I wasn't gaining even an ounce. I think at some points I was actually bumping down in weight. I love swimming. Swimming is very fun until you get bored of just going back and forth. I love sprinting in the pool, but I just couldn't put on any weight, so I started slowing my swimming down. And I think come my 5th year of lifting, I was about 165 to 170 pounds at the beginning of that year. And that's when I had left the YMCA, I believe, and I joined Gold's Gym. Not Gold's, I'm sorry, World's Gym. That's what was up on the Boulevard and... Damn, what the hell street was that? It wasn't Grant yet. It was the Boulevard, Roosevelt Boulevard. World's Gym was awesome. The environment there was just so raw compared to what I had at the YMCA, and I think that really helped kind of push me to the next level. I think gym environment is very important. No matter how well you can adapt to a gym, it's just something for me. Like I think it's very, very important. So coming in, I was 170 pounds. By the end of that year, I was about 172 or so. And I had just started my first powerlifting competition. It was a raw competition at Dan Campos, his gym. So I did the Dan Campos Classic. That was the first competition he had, and USA Powerlifting came out and judged the competition. That was a phenomenal thing. I went there knowing nobody, and the people you meet, like just the motivation and just pushing and drive everybody there. So a lot of that time I did train. I spent a lot of time powerlifting. My weight I lifted back then, believe it or not, was a hell of a lot heavier than I lift now. I was squatting every squat day I had. I was squatting at least capping out at like 365, 375 with the spot for like 6, 7, 8 reps. Deadlift I was pushing the late 300s, 385, 400, 405, stuff like that. Every time I train. Bench press, I think I had bumped up to like 265 for 1 rep with the spot at the time. So my weight continually went up over and over throughout the months there, and I went up to 181. But my body, I'm going to say that now, that my body was nowhere near as structured as it was now. My muscle maturity, the roundness I have in my muscle bellies right now is so much more than I had back then, and it made me realize like I mentioned in my post, that the water, like I was carrying a lot of water because when I moved down here, my body was just profusely sweating. No matter how much water I was taking in, my weight was just dropping, 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 dropping. But due to the loss of weight, I did realize, like there was a lot of muscle that I thought I had, but I didn't, and that was a hard pill to swallow, but I had to swallow it and like re-strategize. I had to get my body to adapt to this climate and re-strategize on how to get myself to grow again. And in this photo I'm showing you guys now, this is actually the last photo I took in that gym at World's Gym right before I moved to Florida. And you can see my body was very toned, it was very defined. I did have some build there, but like I said, a lot of it was holding a lot of water weight despite me not looking very watery. I didn't have a lot of fat at the time either, so it's not like I'm going to look very bloated when I did hold that. But yeah, it's just very interesting how the body just changes and adapts, just over time. Like when you find something you're very passionate about and you just keep putting time into it, no matter how many times you succeed or fail, you're just driving and driving and driving until you can get, to where you want to be at. And, even today, the 6.5 year mark, I'm nowhere near where I want to be. But after posting that, like the positive feedback and how many people just shot me messages about just personal training and just how to do this or that, or just, letting me know that I motivated them even more to do something. It just, like that to me is like one of the main reasons why I became a personal trainer. And I'm so just interested and motivated to keep doing more for myself because I know that other people are being inspired by it. So definitely key topic of this video today, guys. I'm trying to keep it simple and short. It actually is very hard for me to focus right now, and I do need to get my last meal in. Just find something you're very passionate about in life, and just let people know over time, what you're doing and just the transformation of whatever you're doing. Just it could even be something as simple as painting. Just take, your first painting and the painting you did, 3, 4, 5 years later, and you just see the gap of quality just expand, and just always find something that you want to do in life, no matter if it's your main focus or a side focus, and just continue to put time into that. And no matter how many times you fail or succeed, in some way you will grow. Garbearfitness checking out, guys. Snapchat's Mr. Watson G. I am adding that in there now because I post a lot of goofy stuff up there. It's not always just fitness. It's very goofy, just me singing or just simple stuff about my everyday life. Watson Alexander's the Instagram. Roar_of_Watson is the Twitter. Garbearfitness@gmail.com if you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns. Checking out. Find your passion, guys, and just keep killing it.